Welcome to the PharmaVOICE Editor's Take video series. Recorded live at the DIA 2014 annual meeting in San Diego. Hosted by Taryn Grome, editor of PharmaVOICE. In this episode, Taryn meets with Marc SIrockman, Executive VP, General Manager, Artcraft Health, and Brian Schaechter, Director of Sales, Artcraft Health.
Marc, welcome to the 50th anniversary of the DIA.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be here. We're very excited to be part of the show, and especially for the 50th anniversary.
It's exciting indeed. Marc, what do you see as the biggest challenge to successful trial outcomes?
I think it's, when you look at it, you basically have to talk about the retention, the recruitment, and the compliance. When you look at that, you break it down and you say, what's holding up the clinical trial? And what is holding it back? And when you look at the stakeholders, you look at the sponsors, you look at the sites, you look at the patients and the caregivers, you realize that there's a lot of education that needs to go on. And a lot of that education is not written at the right level. And the understanding and the criteria that goes into it has to be broken down to under the 6th grade reading level, making it simple to comprehend. I also believe that a lot of times when you look at the material, it's not easy to see what the heck they're talking about. I mean, the reality of the whole thing, you have to make sure that you have orientation within the body, you can see how things are laid out, and it's broken down so it's easy to understand.
Where is the greatest area for improvement within clinical trial recruitment?
The greatest area really is in the material itself. When you look at the content, and you look at the design, and you look at the layout, it's critical that not only you have that right, but then you have to look at the stakeholders and determine where does it make sense to have the material. And when you look at the stakeholders, you have to make sure that you have the protocol, you break it down into simple language.
Why do you believe your internal process has been so successful at assisting trials to meet their objectives?
Well, we have a full staff inside, and we actually look at the protocol and we look at all the stakeholders, all the areas where it could break down. We bring our team together of experts, of nurses, medical writers, medical designers, and we break it apart. We look at it from all the stakeholders, and then what we do is we put it back together to determine what makes the most sense so there is no breakdown in the clinical trial.
Patient centricity is a really hot topic right now. What do you believe will happen in the next year or two regarding the industry's evolving relationship with patients?
I think you're going to see that patients are going to become more and more part of the mix, and we're going to have to get down to their level and understand them better. And the key to that is our success is making sure that they can comprehend the information, it's engaging, and it's in the right format. There's the digital aspect of it, there's the paper, there's the plastic, and there's different devices out there that can take the care home with them. It's still going to be very complicated, and when you look at it, the last thing you want to do is have the white binder syndrome, where every clinical trial is the same.
Let's talk about global reach and what that means to you.
Well, global reach is really when you look at it from the aspect of what needs to be done. When content is just flipped into another language and just sent out there, it's really hard because you need to look at the culture, you need to look at the environment. A lot of times they look at the disease state differently, they look at the manufacturer differently or the sponsor differently. They also look at clinical trials differently. So recruitment in each area needs to be really addressed. And what I mean by addressed is you need to make sure you're looking at the right language, the right content, the right pictures, the right images, and really the right mechanism to get it out to the patient.
Finally, what is your sweet spot as a service and solutions provider?
Thank you so much for asking. Here at Artcraft Health, what we do is we look at it from the clinical trial aspect all the way through to commercialization. And what we do is fundamentally we look at it from the care principles, which is clear, actionable, relevant, and engaging. And we make sure that all of our tactics, solutions, all fit into those categories. And that's how we come up with comprehensive campaigns that really help the sponsor and help the patients and help the caregivers.
Thank you so much for joining us for our Editor's Take video program.
Thank you.
Brian, Marc talked to us a little bit about the biggest challenges in successful trial outcomes. In your opinion, what are the greatest areas for improvement within clinical trial recruitment?
I think the biggest area for improvement in clinical trial recruitment specifically is patient centricity. Making the patient feel comfortable and part of the process from the time of recruitment to consent or assent through the end of the trial. Making sure that the patient and the caregiver has a vested interest in the clinical trial and is not treated just as a number.
Thank you so much. That's a fantastic insight, and that goes along with that trend that we're seeing around patient centricity.
Thank you.
Additional Editors Take videos, as well as podcasts, white papers, webinars, and more are available at www.pharmavoice.com.